right, welcome back to Red and Black TV. I'm Malta here with Boz, Kev, and a very, very special guest.
Very special guest.
Newcastle champion, Western Sydney Wanderers, premiership champion, victory goalkeeper of the season, ACL most valuable player, Ante Covic.
That's Ante Covic, welcome.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah. Welcome.
Appreciate it.
Welcome. I think, this week we knew the ACL 10-year anniversary was coming up, and we said, look, who can we invite on the show? And I think when you look back at that team, there's no one who was more influential than Ante in that success. Our captain, the heroics of the final. And so I think it's fitting that we invited Ante to the show tonight.
Golden gloves, mate. Golden gloves.
Mate. Okay. So Ante, we'll start off. How's things, man? How's things post-football?
Yeah, they're good. Look, family's good. That's most important.
Yep.
Tricky in the beginning.
Yep.
Once you leave football, 20 years. I played 20 years. I retired at 41, and you go, okay, what do I do now? That's all I know.
Yep.
And quite frankly, it's the best job in the world. So it was a little bit tricky at the start to readjust your head.
Yep.
And get into a space where you go, okay, where do I go from here? But right now, you know what? Life's good. I work for a teamwear company.
Yep.
Kev knows him really well because we just picked him up with his club. So I'm really excited about that. Keeps me in football, keeps me at grass. And you know what? I'm working around football stuff. So any clubs out there need apparel?
Yeah. We'll come back to that. We'll give it more thorough.
Look, that takes up most of my time, but still involved a little bit with football. I'm coaching at Bankstown Lions with NPL women. So, life goes on. But, nothing replaces getting out on that park.
100%. Ante, it's good you touched on that. I think, coming towards an end of the career, there is a few factor of what's next. And some players obviously aren't as fortunate as you to have a long career, and sometimes have to end it short or shorter than when you look at a career, you probably try to plan to play to your mid-30s. Yep. But, this day and age, you just never know. With injuries and stuff, you get a serious injury around 32, 33, that's probably a wrap for you. We're talking ACL, we're talking Achilles or something. What would be your best advice to players that are kind of coming to that reality of now I need to plan my next chapter in my life? Yeah,
look, I think it's very different today as well. Like when I grew up in the old NSL, still the old NSL, where it was semi-professional, and half the players still worked a normal job. And there was no focus on afterlife football back then in the NSL. It was football, and that's all you cared about. So like you said, if things happen and it broke down early, there was never really focus, and that was me. I grew up in that generation, so I never went studied or did courses. To me, you
put all your eggs in the one basket.
I put all my eggs in the one basket. So, and I retired at 41, and sometimes you go, a long career like that, if you don't have sort of a goal or a little bit of a vision or a path where you go, what could I do? At 41, it's kind of like, geez.
Yeah.
What do I do? Like, I sometimes think if I retired at 30, thank God I didn't, but you go, at least it's still, it's 10 years ahead of 41. At 41, go, who's going to pick me up?
That's a good innings.
So it's a really good innings. But today, the PFA does a great job. I was part of the PFA for a very long time. There's an emphasis on education. There's an emphasis on the well-being of players, and for me, it's just football is your number one focus. If you're not focusing on football, you're not getting the best out of yourself. But as you said, fortunate for me, I never had any serious injuries. But football is fickle. It doesn't have to be injury. It can be just a fallout with a club, a coach. It doesn't go well, a bad season. And it's all over. And you're going, how did this happen? So in football, it's kind of expect the unexpected. But have something in the back of your mind. Like think about it. If it's not your number one, which in a way I don't think it should be if you really want to play football, if you want to be the best. It's really intensive. But you know what? Talk to people. PFA's there. The club has got certain things in place, clubs these days. So have something in the back of your mind that football can end any time. We're not all fortunate to go 10, 15, 20 years.
It's interesting because I did my B licence, I finished it last year, and I started with a different group, but I finished it with a PFA group over here at Blackdown Sports Ground. It was all ex-A-League players, you know. Tarek Gilrich was there, Joel Griffiths was there and stuff. And, and it was completely free for those players, obviously. And, you know, it's not cheap these days, $3-4 grand to get your B license. So, so there is good work done by the PFA, obviously, to kind of give an option post a football career. And I'm sure there's more behind the background as well. So it's good to hear. Much different from your NSL days, Ante, I think.
Oh, mate, it was it was very
just
old
left on
school
your
back then.
Left all alone, yeah. When
you're there to play football, Training was at 6 o'clock. You go work and just make sure you're there at 6 o'clock. And when you're there, stuff everything else. You know, no one really cared. There was no avenue to think about anything else. And you get so immersed, even though it's professional now, it was semi-professional then. But if you're a football player, it was brutal, Senior players, they would kick the shit out of you if you didn't perform. So everything was football. And sometimes when you're young, you think it's going to go on forever. And, you know, so for so many, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
I think the stats you know, show that. I don't think many players get past that 3 to 5 year period. So the majority fall away.
I was going to ask Ante, you know, now you're with 1863 Apparel, but was coaching or is coaching one of those pathways that, you know, you might see yourself in? I know you said you're doing some work already, but, you know, can we see you on the A-League, you know, or in the A-League somehow in some capacity?
Look, when I first retired, yes, that was my focus. That's all I knew. I thought, what's a natural progression? Coaching. I think towards the end there, when I was at the Wanderers, Ron Corey, who's, you know, I've got the utmost respect. He's one of the most respected guys I have in the game. He's
legend in himself,
absolute legend. Yeah, I've got so much respect for him. You know, me and him talked about. I think we talked about a coach, about a transition, possibly that one day when I retire, I transition into that role. That's what excited me at the time. Things happened at the club that I wasn't happy about, obviously, and you know, it was my decision to leave the club, so that fell away. And that was the initial thought. I went and did my licenses initially, but when I looked at the bigger picture, and everyone's got different circumstances. I had 2 young kids. Finally, for the first time in their life, they're settled in Sydney, where I grew up. They're going to school. They've got friends, and coaching at the highest level is a real commitment. It's a full-time job these days, and you've got to be. It's
not just a 9 to 5, Ante. It doesn't just end on at the training facility or after a game, mate. Emotionally, you take that home with you as well. You lose a game, mate. It's probably hard to sleep that night. You know,
absolutely. There's so much to it, but on top of that, for me, you know, my last year was at Perth. I could have stayed there, but my kids were in Sydney, so I probably saw them 2-3 weeks of that year. And that was extremely tough on me. Perth actually wanted me to stay, and I thought, another year without the kids.
How old were they at the time, aren't they?
I was at 16, so my son was 8 and my daughter was 10.
Okay.
So
they're probably at the age where they're starting to ask questions, where's dad and stuff, or they
know,
miss the father.
They know what they're doing, but my bigger problem was, okay, if I go into coaching is fickle. You've got a job 1 year and the next year the coach gets sacked, you might not be needed. Go, where you going to find it? There's, at the time, Western Sydney and Sydney FC. Am I really going to go to Sydney FC? That's going to throw up a few curveballs. But then you've got to be willing to go interstate or, you know, go into Asia or whatever. And I wasn't in that position where I'd uproot my family or my kids again. Or, you know, my wife... I'm remarried now. She's got a great business, you know, hairdressing, her own business.
So she's locked in.
She's locked in. So am I going to just pack up and leave everyone behind? And that
it'd be a pretty selfish decision.
Yes, and I've done that for 20 years. You know, I've moved my kids around, and I just didn't want to do that and have, you know, put in that situation where I wasn't that player. There's plenty of coaches that will pack up and go, and the family will come with them, or they can make it work. I just didn't feel I could make it work.
So from Perth, if I remember right, you went to Rockdale?
I went to Rockdale for 2 seasons after that.
I was coaching there when you were there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I used to, before our training sessions, used to do some coaching work there as well. I was with Stamati with the 20s.
Yes, okay.
So I remember you at that period, and back then, you know, it was your first kind of chapter at a semi-professional level, post a professional career. So whenever you seen Ante there was the aura, right? Because, you know, he's you've been watching for the last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
So I remember, he did great work at Rockdale, and then obviously that's continued till now to Bankstown?
Bankstown,
okay.
So I went Rockdale and then did a bit of coaching here, there. Went to Marconi for a few years.
Yep.
COVID hit, had a bit of a pause for a couple of years. And, took the MPL women's job last year, and I've decided to stay on for next season and go around one more year.
Congratulations on that. Now, is it hard balancing the business and focusing on the coaching aspect?
Yeah, I don't think it's hard balancing it. I think it's hard balancing normal day work,
Okay.
coaching,
Yep.
and family.
Yep.
Because this business, it's off the cuff. Like it's not a scheduled 9 to 5.
Yep.
You might have meetings with clubs, whatever.
Yep.
You might need to stay behind.
Yep.
But then you've got to make yourself available 3 nights a week. On the weekdays, your whole Sunday's gone for games, and for a good 8-month period, your kids and your wife get you for the Monday night and the Saturday afternoon, and that's the tricky part.
And you got to throw in an RBTV podcast in there
there
somewhere.
Podcasts in there,
Yes,
saying that, like it's hard to live without football at the same time as well. Like I could take the easy option and go, I'll just crash at home, but football's been my life.
Yeah. Ante, I want to ask you a question, and then we'll get the boys to ask. I think, how important is it to have the right partner that allows you to, do your thing in terms of football? If you have, business going on, or you're still coaching it, obviously the MPL. Let's take it back to being a professional, right? How important is the right partner where they relieve you of any pressure or to commit more time and more focus on the family? How important is that?
It actually is really important.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not always the same way where it's my way. This is what I'm going to do. If you're not both committed to it and understand that there's pitfalls, and trust me, my wife, she's wholeheartedly backing me to coach at Bankstown.
Yep.
But it also kills her that I'm not
Yeah,
home enough.
yeah, that's right. That's
but
right.
there's that kind of balance of disappointment, but I get it, and I'm behind you and all that. So you actually do need it, because if you've got someone at home that doesn't like what you're doing, there's a problem here, huffs a puff, then you lose focus, and then there's problems, and you come home, miserable or whatever,
and you're not enjoying.
You're not enjoying it,
And
and it stuffs up. It's not fair on probably the team that you're coaching as well, because you're probably not going there in the right frame of mind as well. So you need a partner to be able to work with and understand what you're doing, and know that as long as that season comes in, you got to make those 3 days work.
Yep, absolutely. It's finding a balance, I guess.
Yep.
Well, I want to start a question from the start before we get into ACL from the start.
If you realize we haven't gone to the Wanderers.
We're about to.
Malta, before you ask your question, Ante, we'll get you shifted a little bit close to the mic.
Yep.
I don't know.
Just
like it's
everyone keeps complaining about it, but that's cool.
So I'm going to get
You're
real
good.
close.
They want to hear from you. They don't want to hear from us, right? So
All good mic is better.
okay, sweet.
So 2012, I guess you hear contact from, I don't know, Popovich, Gorman, whoever it is. New club, as a slogan, Australia's newest, oldest club.
Yep.
How hesitant were you? Honestly, were you hesitant?
Well, tell us the story from the start. Who reached out to you and how it got done?
Okay, I wasn't hesitant, and I'll tell you why. I was at Victory the year before.
Yep.
I had a bloody good year. I won the Victory Medal and the Player of the Year that year. It seems when I win stuff, they seem to I probably shouldn't win stuff. But I had a great year. The club didn't have a great year, but me personally, it was fantastic. There was a bit of turmoil at Victory, and Ange Postecoglou was coming in. I was set to stay at Victory. I'd come back from Europe and thought, okay, bought a house down there. I enjoyed the lifestyle at Victory. That's probably also because I'd already had 10 years away from home, Sydney, playing in Europe. So it wasn't a big shift for me. But Ange had different ideas. He had Tando Valapi there, and Lawrence Thomas was the young pup at Victory. He, for whatever reason, wasn't happy news for me that he didn't want to keep me on. I went, okay, here I am, 36, 37 at the time, going, I know I've still got a lot in me, but everyone starts looking at that number.
Were you expecting that
discussion?
Or did that catch you off guard?
Caught me completely off guard.
Okay.
And it was a phone call that I got just driving in the car that I wasn't needed. I was set. I was staying at Victory. There was no other thought.
Yep.
Wanderers had just come in. So you're kind of going, all right, well, it's a pretty good club, Victory. You know, they got good support and good stadium. But anyway, it was Popper. Popper reached out to me. He gave me a call. Obviously knew about the Western Sydney Wanderers, and his talk was basically around nothing to do with performance. He knew exactly who I was. I've known him for years, long time, national team, everything. He knew what I can do on a field. Yeah. His one question for me was, are you motivated? Or are you going to come here just as a retirement fund? And maybe the one aspect, I'm probably a little bit like him on the field. I'm a sore loser. Yeah. I hate it. I bust my chops and I love playing the game. If there's one thing that, and ask my guys at over 45s even today, they tell me, calm down. I don't like losing at 45s. That's one thing I've never lacked. Yeah. I've always wanted 100% every game. I hate losing. I'm miserable. Talk to my family. I'm miserable for days after a loss.
Fire in the belly,
fire. I've never had a lack of fire in the belly. Yeah. I said, Popper, if I'm coming there, I'm coming there to do something. I'm coming there to be the best goalkeeper in the league, best keeper for Western Sydney Wanderers, and that won't change. Like, there's no retirement little thing here, a couple of years back home.
I'm all in.
Yeah. I'm all in. Yeah. I'm 100. And he goes, that's all I need to hear. And that was it. Done. Yeah.
How long after that conversation did you put pen to paper type thing?
It wasn't long after that. I just had to, I can't remember exactly if I flew back to Sydney and got the paperwork, because I still had a house down there that I had to sort out and the moving and everything. But once I committed to that, that was it. I wasn't going anywhere else. I wasn't, trying to play off anybody or see what else is available. Western Sydney, going back to Sydney, haven't been in back home for a long time. It was over 10 years I haven't been home. So coming back home and settling up there and the kids being there, that's done and dusted.
I think Kev wants that the words are said over the phone, being an old school player and Popper being an old school type of coach. I think that's just as
I think I was more like, because obviously it took us a while to get going. Like, they took a couple of months to set up, and we didn't have a training ground and all that kind of stuff. It was just it sounded like at the start it was a bit of a schmozzle. So I just wondered how quickly or how long did it take to get everything sorted. But it sounds like it was a pretty seamless transition.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, I don't know exactly after that conversation. But yeah, I think me and Popper, we've known each other for a long time, and I think you're right that a little bit. I am that little bit old school, almost like a handshake's a handshake.
That's right, yeah.
And it was done. So whether I signed before, went back to Melbourne, sorted some things out. Yep. And like you said, it was a little bit of a shambles coming in. Yeah. What field are we training? If you remember the old clubhouse at the athletic
Sports
stadium,
ground.
that was our change room. Initially, we didn't even have the change room downstairs, so we'd all get into one big room and just change, get out on the field. It was all just really loose. Trolls coming in.
Sports carnivals are there and everything.
Sports carnivals are there throughout the whole year.
It's very
so that's
amateur.
a challenge. Yeah, it was, but I don't think any of us kind of frowned upon it, because we knew it was a fresh club. We knew it was like last minute kind of deal. Like it wasn't planned for months ahead. And, a year in advance, this club's going to come in. It was all last minute. So last minute, you go, well, there's no even field. Like, how are you going to set something up that quick? So we all accepted that, and I think in the beginning, part of those first few years, the good thing is that I think there was a lot of players in that squad that had a connection to Western Sydney. Yeah, even though I wasn't born and raised in Western Sydney, my professional career started in Western Sydney, so I've got that connection, and you had a lot of players that had that connection to Western Sydney. So it was almost like, this team needs to happen. So we put up with it. We took the piss out of it a little bit. How shit the facilities are, and
brought us together, I guess.
Exactly. Where we're going to go for a gym. Where's the gym section?
I think it builds camaraderie.
It does. Yeah. So, while you look at the new facilities and go, geez, it'd be nice to be in there. Like, I wouldn't change that start, because it just kind of brought a bit of realism to it. Yeah. A little bit of old school, and just grind, stay together. And I think part of that was probably a motivating factor for us, why we kind of kicked on. I don't think, obviously it's not all of it. I think we had great players, a good first-time coach that knew how to motivate the players. So there's a lot of aspects to it, but I think that as well, drove us.
Just to follow up on that part, when you got the call from Papa to join, did you have a look or think around to go, okay, well, I want to know who's in the squad at the moment, or was any of that a factor to your decision at all in terms of
No, not at all. I think when I came in, there was only 6 signed.
Yep.
So I had no idea who was going to come, who was available.
You didn't ask any questions.
Didn't ask any questions because realistically, I knew there wasn't the time, and it was a situation where, as a coach, and I probably I've coached now for a little bit. You can rush in and just start signing whoever's available, but you don't know how that's going to work.
That's
so
right,
you need to build the right sort of squad, and I think the way Papa did it, at the end of the day, he brought the right players into even bringing Shinji out. He had offers. I think it was Balak. Offered at first, and he just didn't want that because he felt his attitude would not be the right fit. So Shinji was a masterstroke, and that was very, very late. So it was. The one thing that we sort of did get early on, and because of Papa's mentality, and I know what he's like, he's very methodical. Yep. So it wasn't off the cuff to him. It
was calculated.
You knew speaking to him, he knew what he wanted, and you go, okay, let the process go.
Yep. Okay, so team's built. Obviously, pre-season started. Papa, obviously, you'd probably know, but a lot of new players that probably didn't know him well say, all right, we've got a serious coach here. Once it resonated with the whole group about his hunger and his motivation to do well, was there pressure on the playing group to kind of deliver on that?
I wouldn't say pressure. One thing, like I said, I've known Papa and I know his drive and I've seen him play, and he's one of those people that, did he have all the talent in the world? Probably not, but he had the drive and he knew what he wanted to, and he was never going to give nothing less than 120 on the field. Yeah. So he'd do the same thing off the field. The one thing, whether it was a surprise or not, but because you'd speak to him in his playing days in the national team, and he was always a leader, but not really vocal in the sense that he would hold team meetings or this and that. But when he came in, he was actually brilliant at motivating. He actually
man management skills.
Yeah, his man management skills, and when he sits us up, he gets scenario in place, and what would you do in this moment? And you've got this, and it actually really fired up it actually made us believe, going, yeah, shit, we can do this. One of his first when we finally got the majority of the squad there, he had on the, and I probably saw it on that documentary. And it is true. He had whatever the first few words were, and he went premiers. And you kind of all right, no worries, good one. But the more and more it went on, his enthusiasm and his belief wore off. And you'd leave those dressing rooms, and I think I was probably with Bridgie one, it would have been a Champions League after one of those talks, and come out and goes, I just want to go belt someone now.
I'm
fired up. He had a knack of doing that. And I think that was so important at the start, because really, you are thrown together. Even though we've got two really good players in there, we didn't have a proper preseason like the others. It was mixed. There was sessions where there was 30 trialists there. So how do you prepare for that? So, he had to motivate us, because you could probably take that lightly and go, let's just get the best out of this season. Where he actually made us believe it. I've got to give him credit, and that's not just pumping it up a little bit to make it sound really exciting, but he actually did pump us up.
Speaking about Bridgie, obviously the first game, Central Coast 0-0.
Yep.
Then a couple of no results. How big was Bridges' goal in Brisbane away? That first goal.
Yeah, look,
was that a turning
point? Was that like monkey off the shoulders?
Yeah, a little bit, and a little bit of, like I said, all that discussion about we are a good side, and in training, once we had that squad, and the other. Like I said Shinji right now, but our foreigners, Papa hit the nail on the head. Percy, Pollins, Polyak. Even Dino, he may have scored only that one goal right at the end, and he would take it on his side. He'd take it really hard. But what he did off the ball was unbelievable. If anyone remembers that first year, he would take defenders away. He'd open up for everybody else. So we had a really good squad. In training every day, we all believe that this is a bloody good squad. It's just got to click. And it was frustrating that it wasn't. So that first goal, it's those cliches, monkey off the back, but it was. It's going, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. And that Adelaide 6-0 win, even before that, we're saying someone's going to cop it. Someone's going to. That's how much belief we had.
It's going to explode on
someone's going to cop it. And Adelaide copped it, and he was kind of like, okay, here we go. Now we're going. Now we're cooking.
The engines start rolling,
I was walking with some of my boys back then to the game, and I'm like, I reckon we're going to win 5-0 today. And somebody keeps reminding me, they're like, that day we ended up winning 6, and I'm like, I can't believe it. Dino scored that day, and somebody picked up a hat trick. I just can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Bridgie or something.
No, Ante was right. We were knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Right? The performance was there.
Bad. We weren't playing bad.
You just knew it was around the corner. And I think Adelaide, they're the ones that kind of exploded on. Now, moving forward in that season, obviously we start climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
At what point did you say, shit, man, we can actually win this thing? Would it be halfway through the season, you think?
Yeah, it was probably on that.
Was there a moment or a game?
I don't think there was a moment. I think there was always belief because, like I said, all the motivating was it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better. It's only every speech was it's going to get better. And playing at Paramatta as well, it was a home. It was really good. And when we started getting those results, the fans. Okay, everyone loves a bandwagon. Everyone loves a winning team, but it's almost like that Western Sydney. The Western Sydney people just needed to follow something, and you won't kind of lose them a little bit. But I think when we went on that run,
10 straight.
Shit, yeah. But you're winning, and it becomes a habit. Yeah. And when you get confidence, it feels like you're invincible. Yeah. There's moments in games where you go, I'm not going to get beat.
Yeah.
And confidence is a funny thing. Like if you've got that.
Yeah. Like you can play poorly, but you still win the game. Yes. Right? Because that's a stubbornness, or there's that confidence, that, okay, we're down a goal, we end up winning 2-1, 3-1. So
that drive, that 10 games, and it wasn't at the 10th game, this is when we started believing, but you get 2, 3, 4, and the momentum just keeps going and going, we're on a good thing here. Yeah. Where you end up, you don't know, but that Premier title, it was always hovering there, and you're going, it's realistic. It's realistic. We keep going like this. It can happen.
If we could look at a couple of moments in that season, just want to touch on one for you personally. The first Sydney derby, and obviously the penalty against Del Piero.
Yeah.
The experience of that evening, obviously, of the derby. Share what the players were feeling, and then obviously leading to that penalty as well.
Yeah. As soon as Western Sydney got formed. The main discussion was the derby. Everyone's waiting for the derby. Players are I've been blessed to be playing around the world with major derbies, and nothing beats a derby. No. And you don't want to say that you do something extra for a derby, but there's a different mentality. It doesn't mean that you play better, but there's this whole hype. It's next to impossible to explain. But once the draw's coming out, that's what you're looking at.
That's the one you circle.
That's the one you circle, and you go, let's see. That would be a major game to win. So that hype was there. That expectation of, I think at the start, even the media was going, just if they can just be respectable,
just compete,
and all that. And we did more than compete. The atmosphere was brilliant at Paramatta, and we played well. And then, the pen, soft pen, but smart pen. You're talking about Del Piero coming to the ball, and he's 2 steps about everything. And, he's going to take what he can get. So, that pen, you're facing Del Piero. He's an absolute legend. And I am sitting there going, I've got to save this one. Of all pens, this is the one I've got to save.
Any studying?
No. I've never studied penalties. Occasional here and there when there's obvious penalty takers and you want to know where they are. Yep. But with Del Piero, I'm going, this guy's world class. He can put it wherever he wants. And the best of the best disguise unbelievably. And if you remember, he scored the first one. He was retaken.
Yeah.
And that's when you start playing. And I think both the taker and the goalkeeper is both going the same way, or are you going to change the way? Which way am I going to go? I'm going to go same. So it wasn't even that I was looking at him, what's he going to do? I'm going the same way. Going to go the same way. Or where he's taking it. and I save it.
Yeah.
But I wish he hit it better because he came behind me, so I couldn't steer it anywhere. And that was a frustrating. As soon as I hit it, I knew it went back into play because I couldn't put it anywhere else. And it's gone back to him, and you go, well, if there's anyone to get a rebound.
But you did save a Del Piero penalty.
But I can technically, it's a penalty save. The goal was scored afterwards. Yes, I saved Del Piero's penalty, so I'm happy.
If that penalty is taken today, is he caught offside after the save? What's the rule there again?
No.
As long as it touches somebody,
it touches a player.
Yeah.
Okay. So I saved it. If he hit the post and he came back, I think he's got to leave it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a post, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we touched on the Sydney derby, but I wanted to go to Central Coast Mariners away.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. That's the one.
That's the one, huh?
That's the one.
It was a massive night because they get a penalty.
Yeah.
Doesn't work out for them. Lebanon ends up scoring. There's a massive crowd of about 10,000 for Wanderers. Pouring rain. Yep. Tell us from a player's perspective.
Well, that game, obviously, it was massive before it, yeah? You knew if you win that, that premiership's there for the taking. So, terrible conditions, pouring rain. And I think the reason Matt Ryan took that penalty was I think they went on a run of about 4 or 5 penalties, all different penalty takers, and they missed all of them. And Matty Ryan stepped up. And as a goalkeeper, there's certain ones you remember. Like I said, with Del Piero, I just picked a side going the same way. With Matty, I just felt keeper, young at the time, good chance he'll be safe and kind of go down the middle. So there's all these technicalities, you can believe me or not, but I'll pick a side, I'll try and read him, but I'm not going to really push. I'm going to leave behind. So I kind of wanted to go and dive, but more sort of fall rather than push. And he did go down the centre. So I left my legs there and saved it. So trust me, there's a million things that go. With a penalty, for me, there's no real plan. Sometimes you can read them, you can pick things up. Sometimes you go, I'm just going. And that's the honest truth. There's sometimes there's no sign. Sometimes you can look at a penalty taker. Where's he taking? Where's he like to take it? All right. There's a little bit of methodology behind it. But a lot of the time, you just sort of like, in that moment, there's been penalties where I go, all right, I feel like the way he's running up, and then last minute I go, shit, he's not showing me anything. I'm just going to one side. So that was the one with Matty Ryan. I had a feeling he'll go more down the centre, and that was massive. That was massive because you know later on we go down the end of the field, Labby scores that goal, and there's our plate. So you know that for me in that first season, that was a big highlight for me because that penalty goes in. Do we win the premiership?
And 10,000 at Newcastle on the final day to lift the premiership trophy. Bridge gets 2. Rocky Visconti,
we just screamer.
That was just beautiful game of football. Everything that you wanted to go right that day went.
We led early,
it was comfortable.
We were up 2-0 at half time. All that.
You just knew we were going to win on the day, man. It was just one of those games.
The feeling of lifting it.
Brilliant. Like, all the naysayers, all the media trying at the beginning be nice to us and, just compete. And, it's great to have a Western Sydney team and, having the whole team believe that you're going to do it and then finally doing it. And to be honest, it's a Hollywood movie moment, isn't it?
It is 100%,
So when's this going to happen again? We've done something. Those first 3 years, there was a lot of you. There's a lot of.
That's why you can do whatever you want. On this show, you can do whatever you want, mate.
It's not normal media.
No.
For all that to happen, then you're lifting the plate. Like that was massive. That was huge. It was such a relief and sort of pride and everything. And with those bunch of boys, like it was the greatest bunch of boys to be around. Honestly, that team. There's not one. You always seem to feel that there's maybe one dickhead or someone that's just stirring the pot. No, it was a solid team.
If you guys haven't realised everything he's explained it for smile. It kind of just shows what it means.
Because I was about to say, and that's your ticket to the Champions League.
That's the ticket. That's the ticket to what we're talking about.
So next chapter, boys, I've opened it up for you.
We'll leave the grand final in the past. Don't worry about that.
A one-off game, right?
One off, yeah.
Yep.
One off. SBS covered it pretty well.
That one I'm not too fussed about. We didn't deserve that one. The Brisbane one hurts me.
Yes, yeah.
The Brisbane one hurts me.
Yeah.
I think someone's got my runners-up medal. I threw it into the crowd. I didn't. So if you've got it, you can keep it. I don't need it.
So we'll move to ACL. Obviously, it's all new for everyone. New chapter. What with again? You said how obviously Popper, when you first come in, he's had Premier there, right? So he's someone that aims big.
Yeah.
Was there any specific goals in terms of the ACL before it started? Was it just making it out of the group stages, or was that discussed?
No, I don't think an end goal for the Champions League was discussed, but there was a talk that we can take it as far as we want it. Yeah, we've proven enough in this first year to take it to a level that hasn't been taken before. And again, Popper was the master in that, especially in that first 2 years, in the Asian Champions League, knew how to motivate us.
Okay.
Yeah, so we actually did have that belief. But I will say that almost the best thing, and again, Popper sort of like brought it up, but we kind of realised it as well. The best thing that happened to us was that first game.
The loss.
Santa scored straight away, and I think there was this mentality like,
we can keep rolling here.
We're going. No one's going to stop us. This is we're unstoppable. And then boom, and that's when, like, if you've played at a really high level, or I've been fortunate to play in Europe and been part of the Socceroos and all that, and Popper knows that exactly. Cup competitions at the highest level, there's a different mentality there, and that was a discussion. That first game was come in, going, every mistake you make in this competition is not going to be like the A-League. You will be punished. And I think it stuck into a lot of us. We knew that. Like, it was there, but we just let it go. It was 3 mistakes and boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And you're gone. You're going, shit. Okay, all right.
Got to ask, did the flares play a part?
Sorry?
Did the flares play a part, and you can see in the goal? Because that's one thing I remember. I remember the RB being torn to shreds because we just ripped, or people just ripped.
No.
Everyone's like, the goal, I got to ask.
I'm pretty good at blocking out things. So
lasers, flares,
all that sort of stuff. So, no, that wasn't part of it. It was just that we were a little bit too loose, maybe a little bit too comfortable in that first game. Complacent, maybe a little bit. Maybe it was the worst time to score a goal right at the beginning. That's just the way it happened. But in hindsight, I actually look at it and go, I'm glad it happened in the first game. It really kicked us in the butt.
Yeah. I don't remember much of the group. I remember that game, and I remember Kawasaki away, because a bunch of us when Archie went, like one of the 50 guys there. And same thing. I think Haiti scored early. We ended up losing 2-1. And that was away. And I think that one stuck with me because I think you had a win and a draw before that. And we're like, okay, we can do something here. You go to Japan, you lose, you're like, holy shit.
And the Japs, technically, they're bloody brilliant. Maybe they lack a little bit going in the front third, but technically they are so good. Like, they're always a danger. Do they have that ruthlessness as maybe the Koreans or the Middle Eastern teams? Maybe not, but technically they're so good. So even losing that game, frustrating. But you're going, well, we've gone to Asia and we're travelling more than anybody else. And we're holding our own. So. Okay, we'll take that one. Just make sure you win at home and you get the ones that you deserve away. And that's what we did.
Round of 16.
Yeah, you end up top in the group. Then it was like a new team, eh? Like, wasn't there a lot of turnover between, because the A-League season finished? It was
after the round of 6. To qualify for the round of 16, because there was a round. We played.
Round of 16 was that's when after Shinji and that left.
Yes. So after that game, So we were playing in Hiroshima, wasn't it?
Hiroshima,
Yes.
And new players came in then as well.
No, we still had the original players. Okay. We still had the original players, and that one's of my whole sort of tournament. That was a bittersweet because I kind of blame myself for one of the goals that came across corner. I kind of came out blind, and I didn't. It's kind of like the Schwartz in the Japan game when he came out. And I feel I was really frustrated. So when Tommy Juric milked that penalty, I was really happy. And geez, he can slot a penalty. Give him credit for that. So that away goal was massive. Massive, absolutely massive. And when we came home, played a fantastic game. I think it was actually no doubt. It was almost like they played to conserve. And I think that played into our hands perfectly. And going through the round of 16 against a really good side.
Shannon Cole's goal was like, at that time, it was priceless.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Like, to go through round of 16, but then there's also, like you just said, a whole bunch of players were leaving, and now you've got to recreate that, bring in new players. Yeah. And, when we got back in, even worse than, when we first started the media, just be respectable, no one in the media, and I remember this well, and we used that as motivation, no one believed that we'll go through to the next round. Everyone went, congratulations, well done, you did yourselves proud, that they already resolved themselves, that was our run. It's done. No one for a second.
Because of the player turnover?
And we're playing Guangzhou.
Oh, yes.
So we just won the Champions League and they're the richest club in Asia.
And who was their manager at the time? Forgot his name?
Lippy.
But
you know what? You say that, Covic, and I'm looking back on it, and I know it's like 10 years ago. I can't ever remember me feeling as a supporter saying, you know what, even if we lose, the boys did us proud. It was like, I don't know, maybe I can't remember. It was like, on to the next, we can do this.
Like how far can we go? How far can you go? And if it happens, it happens. But right now, I'm riding that wave.
It was never...
We'll think about that after.
Yes.
Yes.
Did anyone actually ever come up to you during the time, I know, skipping ahead here, and say, boys, just soak it in, what you've done is special, or...
Oh, look, there's always that, because what we had already done, premiership, and now going into the quarterfinals of Champions League in the first year, it is special. So... we knew that we did something amazing. All right, but we never sort of said that was enough. Maybe grateful you guys didn't as well, because the support was unbelievable. Those Champions League games at Paramatta. I don't think anything tops those Champions League games
at the old Pertec.
The
beers flying, the chants, the hill.
Lippy's losing his shit on the sideline.
So just to go on that, and you got to think as well. Playing Guangzhou, richest club in Asia, got some absolute steps. Diamante was there at the time.
I think did he come after?
He came after. But was the Brazilian as well? He was a guy. He got the penalty actually in Guangzhou. There's another penalty that changed everything. If they scored we don't go through. But we only
saved that with your feet, I think.
With elbow.
Elbow.
And saved it. But we went into that game. It's extremely, because we're going to the winter, humid in China at the time. Like, it was hot, steaming, mid-30s, hard to breathe. And we only had, I think it was something like 4 or 5 week preseason. So we're coming in there with the preseason, new players. I think we played state league teams as trial games, maybe one other one. The only game was, and again, thank you, Adelaide City, for knocking us out of the FA Cup. That was a really good thing. It sucked at the time, but in hindsight, the best thing that happened to us. So going over there, I remember afterwards, like even the boys, they could not breathe at the end of the game because we didn't have a full preseason. We weren't 100% fit, and the boys gave everything. Like it was throw-up moments. So when Bridget got that penalty and we scored, it's almost like one of those moments you go, that it shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened that we got through with everything that was going against you. A short preseason, new players, richest club in Asia.
Plus all their fans stuff.
And, crashing the bus. And
coming out in your underwear, chasing people.
I was a little bit of a nutcase in that sense. But I wasn't going down a dark staircase in China in some hotel. How many Chinese are down there? I'm not doing that.
So if that game went into extra time, you think you guys were busted?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. But they needed that third goal. So that second goal, that one goal created. You need to score 3 now in the last part of the game.
Yes.
And if there's anything, this team's once we sniff something like at that period, we'll like fight for absolutely.
We've got this
because they scored their second in the 90th. I remember pretty late.
Ante scored right at the end, and I'll tell you what, in that dressing room afterwards, like you want to celebrate it, but you could see the players were just
exhausted, mate. Yeah.
Absolutely could not breathe. Like it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant.
And then weirdly, the semi-final I think was the most comfortable.
That was easy. Like again, you go FC Seoul and you go good side. that one felt really comfortable.
Yeah.
Home and away.
Yeah.
I feel like that one was. What was that one for? That one should have been before.
Should have been, they got him in the wrong order.
You know, it's probably good for us to have one of those ones where just a bit of confidence and play well and dominate a team. You know? So it was, it set us up well.
For the big one, eh?
Should we move on to the big one?
Obviously,
leg one.
At Paramatta.
Leg one, yep.
Juric, what was it? Golic's goal.
Golic's cross.
Juric's goal.
Juric gets
Golic's ball. That's.
I don't remember much
that's
about
the
this
best ball he's ever given. I think he'll say that there's never a ball that he's given like that.
You know what?
Left-footed, perfect.
Because they keep replaying it on Instagram. Like the Wanderers posted it. I think Labino feeds him the ball. That ball that he feeds to Golic early, like he gets it, turns, passes it. I think that was the key. Like it just didn't give the defenders enough time to shift across to block the cross.
Yeah.
So I just kept watching it. I'm like, man, that was really important. Get the ball, move it quickly. Golic first time, and Juric gets his toe onto it, and Paramatta Stadium goes fucking off.
Ruptures, yeah.
But the whole game, you guys as supporters, it was, you know what, like that. It really was that moment where you go, Aussie football.
Yeah.
You don't see this.
Yeah.
The old NSL had some cracker rivalries and all that, but you're going, this is as close to a European experience as you're going to get.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely awesome. You know? Absolutely. Yeah. The flares and all that. I know here we're bit nanny state and don't do this and don't do that. But you know what? Bloody hell, my first contract overseas was Greece. Go see the flares over there. Jeez,
Even Alex King came out.
That's danger. That's when they've got the gun shot, firing it across the field to the opposing supporters. So I love the smell. You know, and I know even on my Facebook probably still got it. The one photo I've got is of picking up the flare,
it's
iconic photo, and giving it to the ref.
Yeah, iconic
and,
photo.
I'll tell you, FFA called me to ask to remove that photo from Facebook because it was kind of promoting flares. I was like, no chance.
Yeah, I love that.
That's the best photo.
This happened.
Ever. Look at it.
It's evidence.
The picture, even
Love
if it's a
that.
flare, but the picture was awesome. So
Still remember that.
yeah.
that.
So the home league was it was brilliant for so many reasons. And again, 1-0 win, and you knew they were college side. Like credit to them that they could play football.
Oh yeah.
Technical, fast football, but we were extremely disciplined. Defensively, Popper's teams are like that.
Yeah.
And going into it with the 1-0 win,
Did you feel that was enough? Did you guys feel like we need to score a goal?
No, we knew it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. We knew, like obviously,
In hindsight, it was enough.
Was enough,
Yeah.
but you know that because I think before that game, I don't know the exact stat, but I think they were talking that Al Hilal, they hadn't not scored at their home ground for something ridiculous. It was like years.
Right.
Really?
They had never been held to 0 at home. Look that up, but I've been told that.
And you can understand.
It was a long time. So that's why the coach, when they come home, all they needed was one goal and they're back into
So they were confident, probably.
100%. You
heard what the coach said.
They had no. We were a Mickey Mouse team. They didn't give a shit about us, So, and again, like you use that old school. Everyone knocked us down for a year and a half, and again, these guys are not going to say, okay, come on, bring it on. The Chinese did it, crashed our bus. It was almost like it actually was motivating. Like, it was a big FU, piss off. This arrogance that was on them was unbelievable. So,
Can you say that was the Westie pride?
That
Arrogance, because obviously you guys grew up in the West, and is that
a lot of
is
them
that
grew
part
up
of your identity?
Yeah, look,
The WOG, maybe the WOG side of it.
there definitely is part of that, and we always talk about there needs to be a team out before, even before we came up to existence. It needs to be in Western Sydney. It's the breeding ground of footballers. So, and we're out west. Like I said, I didn't grow up in the West. I was down the southern suburbs and all that. But my football career was out there, and I was a Sydney Croatia supporter when I was junior. I went to every game. So every time Sydney Croatia lose, and I was in that car driving home with Dad, you just shut your mouth because Dad would just give you a whack in the. He's not in the mood. So you know that WOG mentality or that and it doesn't necessarily be WOG, but that hard school kind of fight. And
even at Coney, I guess.
Like Coney as well, and then you've got that supporter base and those fans are the same thing, and that's energizing, and you kind of buy into it. You actually do buy into it because you guys bought into it, we bought into it, a lot of people bought into it. So there's a lot of facets of that mentality why it actually happened, and that's sort of like we can do whatever we want. It doesn't always happen, but things just lined up for us.
That second leg when you came out, how loud was it? Like to see that card display changing. Yeah, like even we're like, whoa.
Look,
we just locked in.
You notice it. Like when we were driving to the stadium and how many cops were escorting us there, and stuff was thrown on the bus, rocks, eggs, whatever it was, and they were really intimidating. And during the whole stay, you could not leave the hotel room because it wasn't safe. So it was intimidating in a sense, but also this is brilliant. This is football. Yeah. So to me, there's 3 games in my career that I played with an atmosphere that was really fucking intimidating, but really fucking awesome. Yeah. And that was one of it. It was so bloody loud. You really, like when you go out to the warm up and Jared Tyson was there and Ron Corey, you actually could not hear each other. Wow. You really had to scream. So the only other time I've experienced that, and I was fortunate enough to go to Uruguay when we qualified for the World Cup, and that stadium, same thing. They were absolutely nuts. And the other one, it's funny, sort of like that old school mentality, old school stadiums, because Uruguay was that, or that sort of those type of people. Napoli was the other one. I played a Europa game in Napoli, and it's the same thing, and that's an old school stadium. Yeah, still is. Those old ones where you go from the dressing room into the tunnel, under the field, and you exit out behind the goal. Yeah, And as soon as I walked out, it was just boo, and it was like, Jesus Christ. So Al Hilal was on that level. Like it was, just a sea of white, sea of men in dresses. So it's unbelievable.
So that game, obviously, it's a complete onslaught. If you ask me, it was attack after just wave after wave after wave. But
it was.
Ante, let's talk about the one. I'm sure many people ask. I still get goosebumps when I talk about it.
Yeah, you're probably
honestly, I have. So they coming down the right, cut back in. I think it's a first time shot. And it's around the penalty area there, Ante?
About the penalty area, between the 6 and the penalty, give or take a little bit here and there.
Okay. How much did you know of that? Like what was happening? I know a lot of it is quick reflexes, but was there some sort of anticipation? Were you moving earlier than you shot, Ante? What was it?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. A couple of things I'll tell
you
about.
I'll
break it down, okay? Yeah. So like firstly, that moment, I'm in a unique position where I go, I'm a player that's played 500 plus games, 20 years, and there's one moment that sticks to me. That's not many people actually get that. Highlight everything.
That save. Yeah.
Everyone's that save. Yeah. I go, I've done a lot of good things, but I'm proud. Like I've got a moment. It's almost like Schwartz's penalty save.
Yeah. Literally, they're commenting the moment, like the moment.
Yeah.
Can I just say, like it's in people's bloods now. Like, I swear to God, you have a conversation with someone and they're like, that save, you automatically, like, even when you're speaking to them, like if someone goes, Covic just save, I flinch. Like, my right hand goes out, I look right.
Yeah.
It just...
No, it is. Now. And look, I'm pretty humble and I've made a lot of saves, but when I even watched myself back then, like, it does. You go like, that was big. Yeah. That wasn't my... People go, was that your best save ever? I go, I guarantee I've made better saves. I played 500 times. But the moment doesn't get bigger.
And what's on the line?
What's on the line? It doesn't get bigger. So
run it through.
I'll run it through that game. And again, we've talked about him before, Ronnie Corey. As I said, the most respected man I have in the game. I owe a lot to him because that man, he's been around the game for such a long time that he reads where the game's going. He understands what's the new. Every preseason, he made me feel like a bit of a nonce, like an idiot, because he'd be trying something new and it's a new thing, but there's a method to his madness, and that's the perfect time to say it. But that year, there was a lot of teams around the world where they'd almost play a little bit of that false nine kind of thing and use the overlaps to get to the byline and cut back. There's a lot of cutbacking in that period. At minimum 3 times a week for at least 20, 30 minutes a session, we would work on with Ron cutbacks. cutbacks. So that movement is now automatic. So that movement is going down the byline,
become natural.
Get into that position, expect the cutback, your first movement. So every step, and anyone that does something repetitive, whatever industry, the reason you get better at whatever you do is because the repetition.
Yeah.
And I done it so much throughout the year. It was kind of like, Ronnie, I don't know, did you predict this? Because it's happened. And it doesn't guarantee that you're going to save it.
Yeah.
But so that step across, and Ronnie was always, as soon as it goes back, the first thing that turns around is your head. You need to see the ball. So straight away, head, one step, and you push, because you don't have time to go take another step. So, if you want me to step by step, this is step by step, and, this is, you actually work on it. It's not, is there a little bit of luck to it? Maybe 5%, but 95% is knowing what to do in those moments. So when he hit it, thankfully as well, he probably hit it to a position where nice, safe, straight down the middle, 99% of the time, it's in the back of the net. Because I've probably been doing it for 1,000 times in the season already. The head turns, step, hands already out, and it's just adjusting where it is. And the next thing is just hold the hand as stiff as possible, because you'll see so many times you make that save on the fingertips and your wrist gives way and it trickles in. So the big part of that as well was a solid hand. But when I made that save, I still didn't know if it was enough to go out, because then I looked up and I go, it's tripping over there. And we've all seen the footage, and I'm trying to get up on my feet, and Shannon's stepping over me, and I'm trying to crawl, and we're both looking at it, and it's going, thank God, enough. And
It'll come.
All right, we're good.
I'm just going to hold this.
yeah.
It'll come.
I reckon fix it so you don't have to hold it the whole.
No, I'm just going to hold it, bro.
Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it's safe, bro.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
We're good.
Yeah,
All right, we're back.
We're good.
Yeah, so when we went past that post, it was basically, that's it. They are literally not scoring. They've had a million chances, and if you need a better chance than that, it's not going to happen. Yeah, it's not going to happen. And it was, like for me personally, that whole Champions League run, and especially from the quarterfinals on, athletes talk about just being in the zone. And it sounds like a lot of shit, being in the zone. But I felt in that period I was invincible. And sometimes you need that mentality. It's not an ego, but you want to believe that nothing's going past you. And that whole sort of like campaign, I had that belief, because you build that confidence, you save this, you save that, penalty save in the quarterfinal, this, and it just keeps adding up, and you just feel that no one's going to score past me, no matter what. And I'll say, those 3 penalty call situations, I want to save those as well. That's what I had.
That's
in my
the mentality.
head, So I just felt like, if there's a zone, I was in it during those Champions League.
100%.
So, thankfully I was. It gave me and you guys and a club and other players and so many people something that was unimaginable.
The scenes on this end were crazy. Paramatta Square were intense. But how was it? Obviously over there, not being with the fan, like our fans, but was that sort of
stadium empty? But
quickly.
Oh well, they were.
They're not going to sit back and give them applause.
Look, the best part about it, the worst part about it was that you've won the Champions League in a dry state.
Yeah.
You just won the biggest title you can win in club football in Australia. And there's no beer anywhere. And I've got one here right now, so thank you very much. But we got into the dressing room, and it's kind of surreal. You go through all the presentations and all that. And the boys we deserve a bloody drink. Like at the hotel, you can't drink. And I know there's communities, the gated communities for foreign diplomats or whatever, that you can have drinks only in there. And then someone said to us that if you get to the Australian Embassy by midnight, they can open the bar for you guys.
Okay.
So it was me, Megsy, Topper. We've gone in the dressing room. Boys, we already knew the answer because if there was naysayers, we're going to make the decision. We either have showers, we get changed, and we go back to the hotel, and we talk and we have a good time, or stay in your kit, get all the shit in your bag, get on the bus, we go to the Australian Embassy and try and get there before 12.
So what's the time at that moment?
I can't remember what time it was, but it was touch and go.
Okay.
It was touch and go.
Okay.
Lucky it was late, so it was smooth all the way through.
Yep.
I think we made it there with 10, 15 minutes before it was supposed to be shut.
Okay.
So it was, everyone was in their playing gear at the Australian Embassy.
That is crazy.
Drinking, having a good time, but then they pissed us off as well because apparently the Australian Embassy has the biggest drinking quota of all the embassies in Saudi Arabia, and they were conscious of that, and they shut the bar early, and I think there's a few boys trying to jump over the bar. You can't do this to us, you can't do it. So,
Did the fans get to go with you, those 12 fans that travelled today?
I'm not, look, to be honest, I think I was in a daze there. They could have been. I'd say they probably would have.
That would have been surreal, like as a fan.
They would have been there. So we went there, and then got back and eventually fell asleep and did a recovery session. I think the trophy was in the pool with us and all that sort of stuff. So it was unbelievable. I'm fortunate enough to go to a World Cup. Didn't play a second. I've got Schwarzenegger and Spider in front of me, but still, you go as a kid. What a real dreamer! Could you imagine going to a World Cup?
Yeah.
But to play the part that I played in that game, that supersedes a World Cup.
100%.
It was. It was.
It's almost like Australia winning a World Cup.
It's the biggest thing.
You know what I mean?
At club level, it is.
Yes.
It's
Mate, that's honestly, that game was the last time I cried. Straight up. Like I remember it. Honestly, it was that intense. Yeah.
So
it's the biggest thing in club football.
So
Straight up.
emotions are high. Let's continue. Let's move to Sydney Airport.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to Sydney Airport. You guys land. Are you aware of what's happening inside?
We heard that there was people going to be there.
Okay.
About 5 or 10 people.
That's as much as we knew. They go, there's going to be a decent amount of people coming to see you. We go, okay, that's awesome. That's pretty cool. Yeah, no worries. Then when we got off the plane and you start getting into the baggage area, then the drums and the noise you start hearing going, I think this is a bit bigger than a few people. Like, this is pretty good. And it's just getting louder, and we pick up the bag, and there was, you've won the Champions League, so there's already natural smiles, but then you're going, this is pretty cool, and then to get family, because they're going, there's too many people out there, they allowed family to go through the back and come in and at least see us before we go out there and get swamped and all that. So
celebrity status.
So obviously, and then you think about football, you're going, all right, maybe not there now. We shot ourselves in the foot a few times, but you're going, football's finally getting somewhere. You're at Sydney International Airport. You're getting backdoor access, and people at the airport know what you've done, and you're going.
It's unheard of.
It's unheard of. All the news stations are out there with all the supporters, and there's 1,000. They've shut us down. You're going, finally. This is what we've all wanted for football. So. Then to walk out and just see how many people it is, it's just like, the smile doesn't
validation.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And
what it meant to us.
And I don't take for granted that us as players, sometimes we can be egotistical and selfish and all that sort of thing and think about yourself, because sometimes you have to be there to be the best. You have to be ruthless. But don't underestimate how much we appreciated what you guys did, like the whole season and in that crowd, and how much that motivated us. And, I do remember even there was you expected a lot from us. I remember one guy, I don't remember who it was, but I think we were on a little bit of that. It might have been the second year. But
Shannon came over
and you were giving a stick. And then I came in and Shannon, and I'm yelling at them, give us a break. We're busting our balls as well and all that. So... there's that kind of push and pull, but there's that kind of respect. You go, we need you, you need us, and that was the good thing about Western Sydney Wanderers at the start. That there was a lot of respect everywhere. So what was created was was it the run and all that motivation, and we got more and more and more and more, and 19,000 people, and there was probably another 20,000 people that wanted to get in the stadium that couldn't. That's part of us performing, but the atmosphere that was created by a small group dragged it in, because I know people coming there going, I'm coming here for the concert. So there was a lot of respect going both ways, that's what I loved about the first 3 years. That's what created the Western Sydney Wanderers brand. And I'll
you still freaked that they're still asking you guys to do docos about it 10 years later. Like the SBS one was only done last year.
It was done in sort of like lead up to this. So it was early in the year. So it kind of validates how big it actually was. That there's a full documentary, and there's a whole bunch that you could probably look up that you can win as many grand finals here, but Penrith Panthers might get one now. They've done 4 in a row, but the Champions League is on a different pedestal.
Well, I don't think it would ever be done again, mate. I don't think. No. I think the Middle East and Asia's progressed way too far now. The gap is just too much to bridge. So I think it will never be done again.
Right. Oh, look, you definitely hope you're wrong, because you'd love that, because that would mean that Australian football is starting to get somewhere again. And if I look at the A-League, not because I was there, but I think that 2010 to 2015 was the best A-League period. We had superstars coming in. We had proven players. We had players that were part of national teams for a long time that have been in the game. There was just a lot of that, and there was great football back then. And I hope we can build it back up to have at least that kind of feel.
100%. And speaking of superstars, where do you rate Shinji? Like, because he was, I think, for a lot of us, an unknown name before he got to Western Sydney. But he became that iconic person, Tensai. We loved him. He ended up getting his own tifo type thing. And so, how do you rate him in terms of? And you've played in Europe as well. So, where do you rate him amongst players that you've played with?
He's right up there with players I've played with. I played against some unbelievable players, but you see them in a one-off game. I've played against Riquelme, who I thought was just an absolute freak. Cavani scored a couple against me, and you're going like, how'd you, But Beckham as well, and you're going, okay, but I've seen them one time. But amongst the players that I had an experience to play for a period,
share a locker room with,
mate, he's if you saw what he could do at training, like he's that typical player that you'll say he's 2 steps ahead. It was almost like players wouldn't go and tackle him because he'd make you look stupid. The only other person in Australia that I've seen do that I've played with was Diego Castro at Perth. That 1 year that I was there. He was a couple of steps ahead. But Shinji, what he could do with the ball, like when you would see the ball fly in the air and he'd just bring it down, and all these little things before training. So you only saw half of what he was capable of on the field compared to training. Like, he was just so classy. And Japanese people in general, but the players that I've played with and I've even coached in the women's, they are so respectful as well. They're just brilliant people. There's no ego there. There's no I'm bigger than you. He was one of the boys, and it was really good having a guy like Shinji when he travelled to Japan, because when we were allowed out, he'd close off places and go, this is just for the boys. That's awesome. Bars. But to know how big he is, and this is the one thing that we don't realise in Australia, we've got superstars here, but you can walk down the street. Think about our best sporting heroes, whether it's Shane Warne or Cleary now and all that. They can still walk down and everything, and people will say hi. Every time we went to Japan with Shinji, he was treated like a god. There would be...
Was he that status? Was he a superstar status?
Yes.
Wow, shit.
We would get to the airport and there would be people with gifts coming there. They would shower him with gifts, and he'd be all bowing and all that, and you're going, we don't realise how big certain people are in different countries. And he was up there with the elite in Japan. Like, he was respected to another level. We don't see that here in Australia.
Yeah, it's good to hear, because you see him bowing on the field. You see his chipping the keeper, but you don't hear he's one of the boys. Like, I had no idea he was.
I think he was a perfect marquee.
100%.
He was.
For a club.
He was. Yeah. He was in all facets, in his play, in his personality, and in his nature. He was a bloke that you could not get along with.
I think taking what you said about training and what he could do at training and taking it to the games, we did probably see a glimpse of it. A couple of the goals that stick in my mind is one against Melbourne Victory.
I think the Brisbane Roar goal.
And then the one, even he scored in a derby, like he sort of like juggled the ball to himself and then side hit it. Like you knew he was capable of something that a lot of players wouldn't think about doing these days. You know what I mean? So he was definitely up there. But Shinji was special.
Class player. You know what? And he's a type of person, like you probably saw the post now with Santa going up there.
Yes, yeah.
He's a type of person that will give you the time of day. You know, if you announce that you're coming there, or if he came back to Australia, he'd probably reach out to some of the guys and just, it'd be like meeting an old mate.
Yep.
That's the type of person he was. So in that sense, he was good. But you know what? Saying that, like I said, all the foreigners that year, Hersey was the same, Pollins was the same, Dino,
Saba was it?
Poyak. What about LaRocca?
Castellan.
LaRocca's a character. LaRocca is that kind of like, can be that hot-headed Italian. I'll tell you one story about LaRocca. Him and Hersey came, Papa wanted to have a look at him before he signed. We were having a pre-season camp in Brisbane, and it was stinking hot up there, and Hersey and LaRocca came, and we finished the session. It was a tough session, and then he put a one-on-one drill with Hersey and LaRocca after a massive session. So we're already spent, and they're looking at Papa going, more? Yeah. He's going, yeah, one-on-ones. And he just kept feeding him, couldn't breathe. And LaRocca's going, and he's pulling, and then he's walking around the board going, and you know, the Italian going, this man, he crazy, this man not normal. And he's just yelling, and all the boys were laughing, but that was his character, you know. But he was a good guy, but like he would say what he felt.
It was animated.
Yeah. It was animated. It's the first session you've come back, Papa's belted you, and you just telling the coach you're not normal. He was brilliant as well.
Right, yeah. You look everywhere across it, like him and Polyak's like partnership.
Yeah,
far out. Like,
solid. That midfield was solid.
It was.
You know, that was. You had workhorses in there that would run, tackle, but they could also play. Yeah, there was a little bit of finesse there. So, and then with Moisey in there, very technical. But we had two sort of like enforcers in there.
Yeah,
brilliant.
It was good.
Yeah. All right, Ante, we are, you know, obviously talking about the ACL and you know your years at Wanderers, amazing. You know, it's, I think sometimes we kind of can't grasp how enormous the achievement was, but we need to face some tough questions. All right, Ante, obviously amazing years at Wanderers. What you guys did, I don't think will ever be done. Now, you moved on to Perth, and you know that team that did so much for us. It's like you guys moved on, and there was no attachment with the club again. And I know a lot of fans over the years, you know, not hearing Bridgie, you or Santa, in any capacity at the club anymore. They obviously don't know why, and have questions, you know, and especially yourself, a legendary keeper, our captain. Why is he not involved with the club anymore? Can you briefly explain, you know, your relationship with the club post, you know, your retirement, just so our fans kind of understand?
Yeah. Look, you know, we just talked about for how long, and you could see the joy and
what it means to you.
You probably heard those stories 10 times over, and it's an event that you could hear it 10 times over again and still have the same laugh. So, there's something special there, and the Wanderers will always be something special, and I want it to be. That's my club. That's where I wanted to finish football. You know, even if I was going to go in coaching, that's where I was going to go. So it was really disappointing the way it ended. Not just for me, there was a lot of players. And if I say it in a general sense at the moment, what we do poorly here in Australia is like create that culture. What's been created, not every player is going to be a legend or something that means something to a team. But we don't know how to sort of like build that culture, keep players in the game, want them to be part of it. And I think Wanderers built something special in those first few years. I think it was when a lot of us left, it was kind of like, don't let the door hit you on the way out. never to be contacted again. It's kind of, and so many was like, what the hell's going on? Yeah. And the only time you'd ever go to call is if you can help us with this moment. I lost connection with you. There's no respect. I love this club, what it did. It was the best 3 years that I had. For me, it was a little bit more. And, I'm going honest here, and I don't care anyone at that time at the club who was running it and all that. You can come challenge me for all you like, because a few things hurt me, because, I even had my father after I left come up to me and said he heard from someone that you were money hungry. And that burnt the shit out of me, because I was on a 1 year contract every year, never asking for more money. I was at the end of my career. I just loved playing. But the Club World Cup that came into it, that was a huge moment coming from the Champions League. Me being the senior player, because there was no CBA agreement for prize money for after that, senior player, part of the PFA, you go in and do the negotiations, the voice of the players. And anyway, what they offered the players I thought was very disrespectful. And I'll tell you what, I was probably more calm than they actually think, because there was a few boys that just wanted to go storm the office. Ante, let us just go in. And I was going, no, it's not going to resolve any that way. But when push came to shove, he eventually got out of the media. Lederer had a bad look. All right? He had a bad look. He's face-to-face. He was always nice to me, but I knew I wasn't welcome at the club. I knew. Because I was the voice, and it came out, and I think there was other unions. That's why I got kicked out. Okay, I didn't leave. I never wanted to leave. And I really wasn't welcome to the club. So, in terms of the fans, the players, any player that came in, I want all the success for you. But the club, for me, what happened, if you won, you won. You lost, okay. Like, there wasn't that connection anymore.
Yeah. Were you hurt?
Yes, I was. 100%. That's the club I finished with. Coming back to Sydney, started from day one, the history that we recreated. I'm telling you, if anyone's brave enough, or the players, sometimes we don't want to look at sourpusses. Or, we got a bone to chew and all that. But it's not. That was, in my opinion, that was my club. Like, I didn't have a club to support after, I'm going to go support Sydney FC.
And it's a story that's replicated through various players that played in that squad. It's not
just
you.
I'll tell you one is, like, it was when the new stadium opened, they called players to come back to do a Champions League parade. I said yes only for me personally, because that was a massive achievement, and the supporters. I was the only one that turned up on that day. I think in Trafiro, there was 2 or 3. But the majority didn't want to be with it. Okay? Now that things have changed in the club, credit to the club where credit is due. Scott Hudson's in there, Stadge is in there.
They're trying to rebuild that culture.
They're trying to rebuild that culture and have an identity and have the players be part of it. So Saturday night, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more players there, because I was umming and ahhing to go into the game. Only because you only call me when you need me. When it's a good look, and I could say some other things that I know specifically was said about me and to me. That was relayed. So at the end of the day, I got pushed out of the club that I did not want to leave. And it wasn't that I was selfish, money hungry. I was actually looking after even the play. I was trying to look after the players that were 17, 18 and had 5 minutes in the Champions League game. You deserve something because you're part of the ride. So I've always been that. I've been, wherever I am, I'm the boys' boy. You're the guys I'm going to battle with every weekend, every day at training. I'm not going to throw you, so your input counts, but I was the face. So I took the brunt of that. So it was probably a little bit more personal, but we don't know how to keep. And again, this is not an ego thing. We all want to be part of it, but all I've known is football for 20 years. I felt this is my club. I want to be part of that. But I never felt welcome. And a number of players, and trust me, this is not a Western Sydney Wanderers thing only. Because I've played in Europe, and we all see around, Look at Totti. Who's Totti's Roma? He's an institute. All these players, they've all still, there's roles in there. It feels like once you're done, you're in the scrap heap. And sometimes it's hard. Like we talked about, leaving the game, what do I do? It's almost like, I want to be part of my club.
I think that the comment here from John that I think sums up what he's saying. He goes, "We run football clubs like a corporate business here, except we run it at a loss with little to no success." So obviously, it's different to use because we actually achieve success.
Yeah.
So obviously,
but I think there's also a reason why after those 3 years and such changes and everything comes in, why there was a success. I feel the culture has been ripped out, and you know, whoever I played for in Europe, I went there. It's almost like a prerequisite that you learn about the culture of it. You know what club you're coming in. Yeah, you know if it's a working class club. You know the history of it. It's almost like if you go into a club and you don't give a shit about it, you'll be found out real quick. You know, and you'll always see former players and being part of it. And I think like for the fans as well, because you want to be part of those fans. If you guys, that was very special that first 3 years. That championship, that Asian champions winning team. Would you not want to see them at the game?
100%.
That hurts us, Ante. That hurts us.
Would we not want to see you guys and support it and hang with you and go through the stadium and have chats and reminisce and we're human as well. We love the game as well, you know. And those 3 years, there was a connection made because we were the first. There was something there. Like you guys.
You can tell something is not quite right because a lot of if you just look, let's say as an example, overseas, you know, legends of their clubs will never ever say not a bad word about their club, but they'll always
go silent.
You know, they support their club, right?
Yeah.
But we haven't seen any of you guys around,
and
right?
no,
and that's and this is more the justification of why not type thing. And you said football's fickle, right?
Yeah.
You could have been a successor to Ron in terms of the coaching scenario, and that we could have carried that culture on. And we're talking about a previous regime, so we're not talking about the current Wanderers. Where they're trying to turn it around. But
we talked to Santa, and he'd tell us, "Oh, I want nothing to do with the club." And then he said, "Bridge." He said also, "Bridgie wants nothing to do with the club." And as fans, and you know, especially fans that look up to you guys for what you've achieved. It's heartbreaking. It really is. It's like, and obviously we didn't know the extent of the reason, and I think that's why Ante was important to kind of explain it.
And it's important to like I said, the fabric of the club in terms of the supporters and all that. We went through a journey. That's never the part of the reasoning. It never is because there's a real unique bond there. It's the treatment from higher management. And that you're just and after that you've got a use by date and that's it. You know, I'll say Central Coast, our rivals and all that. But I saw a picture on social media, one of their Champions League game, and on the bench was Vuka, Matt Simon, Josh Rose, and there was a whole. How good is it to see? And you go,
they're all the assistants, right? They're
it is good, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know how, in a broader sense, if they're doing a little bit more of that. But how good is it? Yeah. Even for me. You know, and even for me in other sports, like I'm a motorsport lover. Motorbikes is my thing. You know, when I was playing in Europe, I went to the Isle of Man TT, and I saw Neil Hodgson at one of the events, and I'm like a little kid in the candy. So bloody hell, that's you know, if I could be anything, it'd be a motorcycle racer. You know, the MotoGP. That's what I love. So seeing those people, I'm like a kid. You know, as players, sometimes I don't see myself as that. Like, you know, the best is having kids in those moments when you're still dad. You know, you're just dad. And so, us players, like, believe it or not, unless you probably earned those millions and you've got a reason to have this massive ego, you don't really sort of like get in your head that you're sort of like something to somebody, especially the kids. Until you go there and there's kids and, you know, they're pointing or whatever. That's a good feeling, you know?
But that's where you are right now. Look, we've got people who were 7 years old in the stands or whatever, and now they're supporters.
Yes.
And they remember, when I was 10, Covic did this, or when I was 10, Ono done that. And they've now, 24, 25.
Well, perfect example is Pat Beach, Melbourne City goalkeeper that's coming now. Right? Fantastic goalkeeper. I had him 2 years at Marconi. Keep in touch with him. I think he's got a way to go. You know, he made a mistake on the weekend, but we all do that. You know, he's a brilliant goalkeeper. Trust me, he is. So I know his dad, and he's a Western Sydney boy. His dad's a long time ago sent me a picture of when he was maybe about 10 years old. After a game, me leaning over the fence, you know, with a picture with him. Now he's in goals at Melbourne City.
What a feeling!
You know? And you're going,
That's mad.
You know what?
Makes you feel old, but
makes you feel old. But you're going, you know, these young kids. Some of these young kids are making it to be the next football players.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, it's brilliant.
Now, obviously, we spoke about your feelings towards the club, and that was obviously caused by the old regime and old management. Now, with the new management, obviously, you've said some good stuff about them and Scott Hudson and what they're doing. Are you willing to forgive the club and rebuild that connection, Ante? I think that's what all fans want to kind of hear.
Mate, every single player, 150%, wants to rebuild that because there's something special in that club. And like I said, those first 3 years was unique. There's a lot of Western Sydney boys, or there's a lot of boys that have a connection there.
Yep.
There's never been a question in any of those players' mind that they wanted to be part of that club. So Scott reaching out, I had a long chat with Scott. A couple of weeks called up with Stadge, and he's very much the type of manager that's a man manager and understands that culture and how to build it. And he was saying he wants to build that up. And funny enough, when I met him at the training ground, and the boys were training there, and you know, Brandon Barilla was there, and it's the first time I sort of like sat there and you go on the field in his training and you go, geez, I miss this.
You want to almost throw on some gloves, eh?
Yeah, because someone got some spell. Let me see where I am right now. But, you know, then chatting to the boys, and I caught up with Lawrence Thomas at the game at the derby. And, you know, those boys, you know, with Stadge, maybe they're getting their history, and, you know, Lawrence is going, I'd love to see it at a game, even talk to some of the younger goalkeepers, and you're going, yeah, that's all we kind of crave for, to be part of it, to be respected, that we, where we weren't paid. Was it my job? Yes, but you build a bond, You know, like the staff is there paid as well, but you build a bond. And I said to Scott Hudson, like, you know, you've been at the club for so long, CEO now for a little period. If you left in a couple of years and you were like, thanks a lot, see you later, don't need to see you again, would that feel wrong to you? And you go, yes. Yeah. You still want to be part of that club that you gave so much to. And the same thing is with the players, and there's something different with Western Sydney. I'm a Sydney boy. You know, started my career in Western Sydney. What was created, premiership, 2 grand finals that we don't need to talk about, but the Champions League. There's something real special there. You know? So, of course, we want to be part of it. It's great to see that the club. I just hope that momentum keeps it, because
it's not just a 10-year anniversary thing.
No, I guess it's 10 years. It's kind of, it's still a little bit like, do I trust? Broken down relationship.
You don't trust
you. Are they using coming back in? Have you changed?
Kind
of thing. So
absolutely.
So, but yeah, I do want to be. You know, like I would like to go to a training session and you know, see with the young goalkeepers, and you know, feel like you're part of something. And who knows, they might let me go in goals for a little bit as soon as I get my knee fixed up. So
it shouldn't have to be an invitation type thing. It should be an open
whenever you want, mate.
And then the other thing is, when it is those invitation things, it's also that now I feel part of the club. I'll go on my own 2 feet to the game now. Because now I'm back with the club. You know, there's good people in there. I'm respected in there, and a lot of the boys are that. You know, I feel bad that you know, my boy's playing football. He was a gun player when he was young. He's in NPL3 now. He's 16. And yeah, I was having a joke with my daughter the other day. She was wearing a Wanderers shirt. She's got my name on the back, and it was just after we won it, so she's got the star there. And I was joking around with her because it was only a couple of weeks ago, and the anniversary was going to go. I go, who put that star up there? Who put that star on that jersey? And she goes, Dad, I put the star on. And I go, what do you mean you put the star on? And it was my kids after that, after the Champions League. If you guys remember, there was a big jersey put Paramatta Pertec Stadium. 2 kids walked out with the star to put the star on the jersey. It was my 2 kids.
Wow.
So my kids remember that, and I've never really taken them to a game. You know?
Wow.
And I go, oh, you know what? If there was that connection with the club, I would have, you know, taken my son to a game. I didn't take him to a Sydney FC game, obviously. So he never got that A-League experience as well. That he went to a couple of games, the one that they called us early for the Champions League, maybe 1 or 2 others that I was invited to. I go, you want to come? But you know what? For me, it would have been great that I had more experiences like that with my son.
100%.
Yeah. Hopefully,
that future
kind of you can work towards that starting this Saturday.
Yeah, for sure.
You're
For sure.
there?
Look, I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent.
Looking forward to it. I knew a few of the boys are. Bridgie is going to be there, so I've spoken to him.
Cool. That's nice.
Hopefully a few of the old boys, but you know, look, like I said, the club is actively going down that path, and you know, for all intents and purposes. It does feel genuine. If some of the older faces in there, would I trust it? Yeah, grain of salt. But at the moment, especially with someone like Stadge in there, it's feeling good at the moment. So I think it's going to be a real good catch-up because a lot of the boys that were at that first 3 years, we've seen each other passing by. I've seen Topper here and there, Bridgie maybe years ago, Megsy more often than not. Haven't seen Hef for a while. If those boys get together again, it's going to be the first time in a very long time that, you're in the same room.
Yeah,
having a beer together.
Yeah, I was going to say there's beers at Para. Yeah.
So there's going to be stories and piss taking going on. So
that's great to hear.
I look forward to that.
He's going to be in the Ambassador Lounge?
I have no idea what.
We might have to get him an invite in there, Boz.
They might be in the waist set. If they put us in that little waist set, next to the waist things, there's something not quite right yet.
Well, I think small steps to success. Bit by bit. That's really important. But more importantly, we get to celebrate the 10 years, like the anniversary.
100%.
It's a big moment for the club. If people at home don't have tickets or haven't planned on going, guys, Saturday night you should be nowhere else other than at Combank to watch this game, and you might get to see one of the legends around, get a photo.
He's getting on the field before the game?
I'd say
driven around in a Jeep?
I hope we do, because I do want to share it with you guys as well. And I guess when we went through that whole sort of topic, I guess you guys could say the same thing, with the club. Like, there was that buzz, and then there was a little bit of friction, and you lost it quite a bit. So it'd be great to see the Wanderers pumping again.
Yeah,
it would, and I'm saying that in all sincerity.
Yeah.
Like it's a cliche in the A-League, but I think you do need a Western Sydney Wanderers to be pumping in the league to be something.
If people are listening, listen to what you just said. You need Western Sydney Wanderers pumping.
Rhetorical question, Ante. Is Stadge the right man for the job?
Tom will tell. I've met him. I think he does some really good things. If he goes down the path that where he's given that freedom, to me, he's got all the attributes to do good things. I think, like we just talked about, I think the club is in a different space. I was there for 1 year. I don't know how I got into it, and Hef told me it was next to impossible to get you for that 1 year. But there was push with the women's team. There was a lot of cliques in that environment, youth, women's, this and that. If the club is now becoming one and all that, and he's got there's no look over your shoulder or anything like that. I think he can do a good job. He's a great man.
Yeah. Just needs time.
He looks beyond the football, so I give him time. The first game wasn't the result you wanted, but look, we didn't start that way in the very first game.
Yeah, true.
So,
Absolutely.
But he's got the attributes, he's got the experience, he's got the runs on the board. There's no reason at a club like this. It should be a club with the facilities that it has and everything. It should be to a club, because I remember those first 3 years, a lot of players from other teams going, shit, I'd love to play for that club. How awesome is that atmosphere? Where I think it's gone away from that, where who cares? And we've got the best facilities. You should be having players going, I want to play there. I want to come there.
Well said.
Yep.
Yeah.
Listen, I think
That's it,
that's right, bro. Ante, it's been an absolute pleasure
100%.
just running back with all the memories and having a good chat.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I speak on my behalf, but I know a lot of the fans share the same thought. But we miss that group of boys.
Yeah.
Just as much you do, we miss it as well. I'm sure you share, more personal memories with them, but our memories are close to our heart, and that was winning the ACL and what you've achieved in the A-League against all odds. All odds, man. And that's something we're going to cherish the rest of our lives. And we thank you for that. And we just hope that, you guys can reconnect with the club. And I know a big part of that is what the club does as well. So I think they have a huge responsibility to repair the damage that was caused by previous management. And I'm confident Scott and the current management will do that. And inviting you this Saturday to a historic moment, the 10-year anniversary, I think is a step forward in the right direction.
No, definitely. And I just hope that it goes on like that for the club. Like any player that now has got a part to play in the Wanderers that goes on. We're in a unique position because you were there, I was there. Those first three is that moment that not many clubs have, where in when you're 70, 80 years old, that's still going to be talked about.
Absolutely.
And that's rare for something to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a unique thing about those first 3 years. That'll never. That's
No
an
one
extra
can take that
special.
away from you. Ante.
No. Not me, not you, not anyone that's been there. Like
That's
Western
history.
Sydney will be always remembered of that Champions League.
And you'll always have that no matter what.
Yeah,
no matter what.
yeah,
And
we all will.
And we, as you know, the RBB till now, still creating chance around that success. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. You know, no one's come close to that.
Ante, absolute pleasure.
Gotta say
mate.
thank
We
you.
Appreciate it,
Mate.
mate. Thanks for
Appreciate
coming
it.
in,
I actually
dropping
really
by.
did enjoy it, guys.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully.
We'll pre-review 2 games in a row next week. People
Guys,
saying review.
please
Yeah,
like
don't
the
worry
video, share the video if you guys can. It was an absolute great chat, and I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Let's see you all on
Don't talk
Saturday.
Too much, but